Welcome to the Lemons and Pineapples podcast, the personal development podcast for folks who want more fulfillment, connection, purpose, and joy in life. I'm your host, Emma O'Brien, a no-nonsense coach, a seasoned entrepreneur, photographer, rescue dog mum, and happy life enthusiast. Each week on the podcast, I share tools, tips, and strategies, amazing guest interviews, and uplifting conversations that will help you improve all areas of your life. Let's dive in. Hi folks, a very warm welcome to season 5, episode 11 of the Lemons and Pineapples podcast with me, Emma O'Brien. Today I'm going to be talking to you about how to improve your intuition. So if you've ever known something without really knowing how or why you've known that, so maybe you've had a sense that something was going to happen before it did, maybe you've had a conversation with someone and you've known what they're going to say before they're going to say it, that is your intuition in action. And despite the fact we've kind of been sold it as some sort of magical woo-woo thing, it is an innate sixth sense that we all have as humans. And it's a sense that we will have used all the time back in the day when we were living as hunter-gatherers and we were out in the open and we were out in nature, and we had to have our wits about us as to what was happening all around us, to pick up on predators coming, to pick up on untoward things happening. So it's this sense of knowing, but often it's a sense that we don't really know why we know, because we've not necessarily seen something and we've not necessarily been told something. It has been given a bit of a bad rap as something that's a bit witchy, that's a bit woo-woo. And so it's been devalued really over the course of time, and it's really been prioritized over instinct. Intellectualizing something has been made more valuable than an instinctive knowing. And of course, we know animals have this instinct, and we are animals, we're part of nature, so we also have this instinct too. It's just we've sort of chosen to forget. So I'm going to share with you a little bit more about what intuition is and what you can do to really improve yours, because it's a really, really valuable skill. And it's one of those skills, if you don't use it, you tend to lose it. So it's a bit like a muscle that we need to learn how to flex and build. So if we talk about what intuition really is, it is a combination of 4 things that are happening. So the first one is pattern recognition. So our brains are constantly scanning our environments. They're scanning what's happening around us and comparing to previous experiences we've had in a similar space, previous conversations we've had with someone, either the same person or a conversation we've had about something similar. And it's constantly comparing what's happening now to what's happened in the past. And this is all happening beyond our conscious awareness, because we'd all explode if we were having all of these processes going and we were aware of them. So your unconscious and your subconscious are processing all of the stimuli that is coming into your brain and having a look at, okay, well, last time we were in a situation like this happened. So it's very likely the same thing's going to happen again. You can look at something as simple as having a look outside and being like, oh, I think it's going to rain. Well, how do we know it's going to rain? Because we have a look at the fact the clouds are coming in, maybe the breeze has picked up, maybe the temperature has dropped, maybe the humidity's risen, maybe you can actually even smell the rain in the air, and then it starts to rain. So was it magic that you knew it was going to rain? Not really. You were taking all the things into account that you know have meant it's going to rain before. So we're looking at what's happening around us, and we're reading cues all the time, and we're quite unconsciously processing those. So it is a pattern recognition. What happened last time? Is it the same now? Chances are, if it's the same now, the outcome's going to be the same. So that's a big part of it. And subconscious processing, we have an awful lot of thoughts going through our heads all the time. We're thinking about lots of things. And when you learn to quieten down the chatter in your mind, you are more likely to have intuitive insights and intuitive downloads. This is why you'll find if you are in the shower, you have a really good idea that arrives, and you're like, oh, I wish I had a notebook for that. It's because your brain has quietened down enough for you to start to really listen to stuff that is coming in. It is why if you are meditating, you'll find that maybe you quiet the chatter enough to have an insight about something. Oh, I've been stuck on something and now I've got an answer to it because I've quietened the default mode network, which is constantly just jabbering all the time. Things like gardening, coloring, playing music, if you play a musical instrument, journaling, things that keep your conscious mind very busy and active, doing something in the present moment, allow for intuitive downloads to come. So when you can um, really quieten down all of your mind and your chatter, you can hear what's happening in your subconscious. It's processing things all the time, but we just don't know how to listen because often we've just got this our internal dialogue going all the time. The third thing is somatic signaling. So our bodies will pick up what's happening and they get a sense of energetics. They're getting a sense of other people's energetics. They're getting a sense of, what feels good and what doesn't. And again, this will be pattern recognition coming from similar situations, but also picking up the energetics of what's going on around us. So this is what we talk about with gut feelings, or I had a sense this was going to happen. But we've switched off our ability to listen to a lot of our somatic signals, which is why we tend to override them. We're like, oh, I knew in my gut this was the wrong decision to make because you had a gut feeling, but you ignored it because we don't trust our gut feelings because we've been taught to intellectualize and logic our way out of things. So you might be able to tell me of a time where you're like, I knew I shouldn't have done that, but yet I went ahead and did it anyway. Often in situations like relationships, like I knew this was a bad idea, but I overrode my internal signals. So intuition is a part of it is your internal signaling, and it's learning to listen to that. The other thing is we pick up on other people. We're reading other people all the time. And we'll pick up on people's body language. We'll pick up on their tone of voice. We'll pick up on the way they move. We'll pick up on something as simple as just the way somebody looks at you is part of our intuition. And again, when we start to tune into that, you might find someone looks at you a particular way, and then you've got a somatic signal of, yeah, this is not a good person to be around. And then you can like decide to walk in a different direction if you know how to listen to all of it. So I do think there is an element of a little bit of magical unknown with intuition, because you might have an idea for something, you might just know something's going to happen and then it does. And I think there is a tiny element of real magic to it, but it isn't magical thinking. So we can work backwards. Maybe you can think about a time that you've had an intuitive download with something and you've been correct. Can you work backwards as to how you came to that conclusion? So, for example, my favorite dog, who's sitting here on the bed with me while I'm recording this podcast, Ziggy, recently had a mast cell tumor removed. Thankfully, it's all fine. But I've got older dogs. She's 6, but I've got older dogs who've got lumps and bumps on them, and I have kind of been able to feel some of the lumps and bumps on the other dogs and go, no, there, I know what those are, because I've had previous dogs with similar lumps and bumps, and I've been to the vet and the vet's told me, no, it's just a little wart or it's just a fatty lipoma or something like that. So none of those other lumps and bumps have worried me. We found a lump on Ziggy's tummy. Immediately I felt it and went, oh, that's a mast cell tumor. And I didn't allow myself to go down that route too much and get too wound up about it, because obviously I'm taking a wild stab in the dark here, and maybe there's a part of my brain that's like, prep yourself for the worst case scenario. We went to the vet, had it looked at, and sure as Bob, it was a mast cell tumor. So I've given this a bit of thought because obviously intuition's been on my mind a little bit of late. And one of the ways that I kind of knew this was a mast cell tumor was a few years ago, my mum had a greyhound and she was on the bed and I was stroking her and I felt a lump on her. And I said to my mum, have you felt this lump? And she said no. And it turned out to be a mast cell tumor. So there will be an element in my unconscious of remembering what that felt like, feeling something similar on Ziggy and coming to the same conclusion. So if it, and again, it was a really interesting intuitive test to see if I was correct with what I felt on Ziggy, and I was, but it's because I felt one before. So we have to kind of think about intuition as being a valuable skill because it helps us to discern things, but it's learning to know how to listen to it and when it's correct. My experience of intuition has always been that it is not accompanied by any sense of anxiety. So I felt Ziggy's lump on her tummy and I was like, oh, it's a mast cell tumor. It didn't come with a sense of dread or a sense of terror or a sense of anxiety. There was no actual feeling or emotional reaction to it. It was very neutral. So that's the one thing you will probably, if you track back, will recognize that intuition is often very neutral. Even if it's an intuitive insight about something that's not great, like Ziggy's mast cell tumor, it's quite matter of fact in the way it delivers itself to you. So whether it is you kind of just get a sense of it, whether it is you you kind of see it written in your mind. Very interesting. We all intuit differently. So I am very clear cognizant. So I just have a sense of knowing. It's difficult to put that sense of knowing into words. Some people are clairaudient, so they'll hear it being said to them. So it's good to tune into how you intuit information coming in, so you can start to recognize, is this intuition or is this anxiety, and is this my mind self-creating? This is a really good opportunity for me to share with you, if this work is piquing your interest, that I have a really great workshop coming up on the 24th of May at Windrush Studio in Johannesburg, which is the Intuition Reset. So I'm going to be running a day-long workshop to help you understand how to really tap into and listen to your own unique flavor of intuition, so you can start to get a bit more of a handle on your life. What happens, especially for women, is that, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about this now, is that we are often schooled out of learning to trust ourselves. So we can have intuition and we can have intuitive downloads and we ignore them and then go, I shouldn't have ignored that. But it's really important to understand when you've ignored it and why, so you can learn to stop doing that and we can learn to listen to it and trust ourselves. Because when we listen to our intuition and we trust ourselves, we can move through life far more confidently. So if this workshop is of interest to you, I've popped it in the show notes. You can book your spot. It's 995 Rand per person. It is from 9:30 till 4. It's in, as I say, Windrush Studio in Johannesburg. It's going to be a really, really great day. I've got about 5 spots left on that workshop now. So you can go ahead and book there, or you can just pop me a message on Instagram at Emma O'Brien Coach if you want to find out a little bit more about participating in that. Okay, back to the program. So I touched on there when I was talking about the workshop. We have lost touch with our intuition because we have been conditioned by the society we live in that is very patriarchal. And of course, patriarchal stuff that's very masculine is all about logic and reasoning and thinking and intellectualizing. It's not about feeling and sensing, which is what intuition is more about. And of course, we've been taught that it's less valuable than intellectual stuff, and that is simply not true. So what has happened for women over thousands of years of conditioning is that we have prioritized being liked over speaking our truth. So we might intuitively know how we feel about something, but we don't want to upset somebody by saying it, so we don't. So of course, I talked about intuition being a skill that if you don't use it, you lose it. And this is how we start to lose it, because we choose not to act on it. We tend to seek external validation. Did I make you happy? Are you happy? If you're happy, I'm happy. Am I helping you? Am I needed? Am I being polite? Am I being compliant? All of the things that we have been conditioned, like I said, over thousands of years of patriarchy, we've been conditioned to just check in, and we use our intuition to check in. How is the other person picking up what I'm putting down here? How are they perceiving what I'm saying to them? Are they angry? Have I Have I made somebody unhappy? Because if I can see I've made somebody unhappy, I can start to backtrack and quieten myself and soften myself and silence myself to make sure they are happy. So we do use our intuition for all of the wrong reasons. We need to start using it for the right reasons now. We ignore and override our own internal discomfort. I talked about somatic signaling being one of the ways that intuition communicates with us. It's one of the ways we can listen to our intuition is by sensing what's happening internally for ourselves. How do I feel about this? Does this feel good? Does this not feel good? But we tend to override it. So women overfunction. It's a classic thing that more women overfunction than men overfunction. And we do it in relationship. We're scanning for, are you happy? Are you going to be calm with me? Have I pleased you? And even if you can see that you've got a need that you want to express, if you sense it's going to make somebody angry or unhappy, you swallow it down. So we've just started to override and ignore our own somatic signals, so we don't know how to trust them anymore because we don't know, we don't act on them, and we don't know which ones to listen to or not anymore. We've been taught to intellectualize everything. Can I logically explain why I knew Ziggy had a mast cell tumor? Kind of, but there's still an element of the unknown in there that how I'm not a vet. How would I know with certainty that that's what it was? I just did. So we have to start to learn to tune into our own intuition, and you can test it. So it's something you can test, and I'm going to be talking more about that in the workshop that I'm running. But we can start to test it very, very gently on things that are safe. So we build our intuitive confidence. I'm not saying you walk around and start diagnosing people with diseases, with diseases or anything like that. That's not really a good way of using it. But it's how can you use your intuition to make your life better for yourself and to let life flow a little bit more easily. So there are a few ways that you can start to really improve your intuition and learn to quiet stuff externally and internally down so you can hear it better. You cannot tune into your intuition when you are stressed out, anxious, overwhelmed, overwrought, tired, and running all the time. Intuition needs a little bit of quiet so it can start to pop up. This is where we can start to distinguish the difference between intuition and anxiety. Anxiety will be something that's very urgent. It'll get louder and louder. It'll be something that pops in and it's just like, this is a classic, isn't it? Waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning. Oh my God, where is my passport? I think I've lost my passport. Where did I put my passport? That's not your intuition. That is anxiety. If it needs you to act on it immediately and it comes with a sense of real agitation, it's not intuition. Intuition, as I have said, tends to be a quieter realization that just arrives. It might not be a realization that's particularly comfortable in terms of it might be that you wake up and you're like, yeah, this relationship really isn't for me, is it? No, I don't want to be here anymore. That moment in Eat, Pray, Love where Elizabeth Gilbert's on the bathroom floor with, I don't want to be married anymore. It's an intuitive moment that arrives. So it doesn't always, it will arrive, it might arrive with an insight that you don't want to hear, but it won't arrive with anxiety, if that makes sense. So there are a few things you can do. The first thing is learning to regulate and calm your nervous system. So learning to recognize when you are in a stress response and taper it back. You won't hear your intuition if you're in a fight or flight response. It's impossible. But you will hear it if you can learn to access a sense of calm. So one of the things I do with my coaching clients is I teach them exercises to learn how to taper that back and calm their nervous system. So a calm nervous system will give you access to your intuitive knowing. Going outside and being in nature is always the answer to learning to listen to yourself more. So whether you go and sit quietly outside for a few minutes, you go for a walk, you go and sit and watch the birds in your garden. Being out in nature brings us into the present moment. It gets us out of our heads, into our bodies, and into where we are. And when we're present and where we are, we can hear our intuition. We can feel our intuition much more easily. Learning to listen to your body's somatic signals is a big one. If you don't really know what a gut feeling feels like, you just know that you had one and you ignored it. But if I was to ask you, what did it feel like, and you can't tell me, you need to get familiar with your body's internal somatic signals. You will have a very clear yes and a clear no if you know how to tap them. So really, really, really useful to learn to listen. But of course, in order to listen, we have to quieten everything down. So if you can stop outsourcing decisions to other people and start learning to make your own decisions, it builds confidence, and B, if you can listen to your intuition and then start acting on it, even with small decisions about something simple that has very little consequences for you, of what coffee do I want to order? What flavor of tea? What do I would my body really like? What do I want to do? So you can start it small. Should I, if I'm walking in the woods, go left or right? And you can just let your intuition guide you. It's really good because you can start making decisions for yourself then, rather than asking other people all the time, which is what we have been schooled into doing as women. We have been schooled to outsource our authority to everybody else, and we need to stop doing that. The last thing is to start to challenge the beliefs you hold that keep you stuck in life, and they keep you circling the same patterns and the same problems and the same challenges all the time. Because when we can start to recognize those and start to do the work to shift them, we start to take charge of our own lives with far more success. And that is really when we're in charge of our own lives and we are able to trust our own internal authority. That is when intuition becomes really, really valuable, because we can learn to quiet down enough to ask ourselves a question: do I want to do this? I probably should do it. If I ask a friend who isn't terribly enlightened, should I do this? They're probably going to say, yes, of course you should, because that's the thing you should be doing. But if you know at your core you should be doing something else, or you want to do something else, can you start to actually act on doing the thing you want rather than the thing you should? And then we start to take charge of where we're going and what we're doing. But first, we have to learn to listen to our intuition, which will always guide us in the right direction. Might not be the most comfortable direction, because it might guide us to make changes, but it will guide us in the direction that is best for us in the long run. So if this piqued your interest, another invitation to join my workshop on the 24th of May, if you are in Johannesburg. Drop me a message or just check it out in the show notes. If this is work you're listening to and you're like, oh, I'd really like to know how to do this, but I can't quite make your workshop, I do work one-on-one with people, so you are welcome to get in touch with me. There's a link also in the show notes to book a free discovery call with me to talk about how working one-on-one would help you really hone your intuitive skills as well. And of course, I've given you lots of ways that you can start to hone and shift and work with your intuition in this episode. If you do nothing else, go outside for 5 minutes and just start to quieten your internal system down, and you will be able to learn to listen to its wisdom. Thank you for joining me for today's podcast. I will see you in the next episode. Bye for now. Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you've enjoyed it, please leave me a 5-star rating and a review, and make sure you share this episode with a friend who you know will also enjoy it. I'd love to connect with you on Instagram. Please drop me a DM and say hi at Emma O'Brien Coach. And for more information about coaching with me, please head to my website, which is emmaobrien.coach.com.